we go to Mr. Joe Wilson of South Carolina.
Thank you, Chairman Royce, and thank you for your leadership on this issue. And it's so important. I've had the opportunity to visit Guantanamo twice to see the personnel there, the professionalism of our military, and it's the place where terrorists should be. In my home state of South Carolina, we've learned a lesson. There was one terrorist at the Navy brig in Charleston. He's had a consequence. He's attracted more terrorists to come to the community and threaten attacks on the facility, putting schools at risk, neighborhoods in the immediate neighborhood at risk. It's utterly absurd, the thought of bringing them to the United States in any way or releasing them. And it's interesting you say Yemen. You release people to Yemen, which was supposed to be an example of great success by this administration of establishing a stable country. And within days of releasing and pardoning terrorists, the country collapsed. And it'd be interesting to know what did happen to the persons who had been released to Yemen previously.
We do not release individuals to Yemen.
Well, you had previously released before the collapse of the country. But there is a consistency here which is not good. And the consistency is we have an administration that's dismissed ISIS as a JV, junior varsity. These are the same people after the announcement of junior varsity that committed mass murder in Jakarta, in Brussels, in Paris, in Orlando, in San Bernardino. We know the mass murder this week in Baghdad and in Kabul. Over and over again, there's been a dismissal of threats to American families. Additionally, it's incredible, too, this administration is very consistent by reaching a dangerous Iranian nuclear deal, providing tens of billions of dollars to a state sponsor of terrorism. Just last week, the funding that has been provided by Iran to Hamas, there have been rocket attacks on Sderot in Israel. Again, it's extraordinary to ignore this. And then we come to pardoning and returning terrorists to go back on the battlefield. This is inconceivable. And it's also quite illogical. As you talk about a recruiting tool is releasing people, not being serious about detaining people who have every intent to kill American families. It's really interesting to me that they don't use the argument that it's a deterrent or it's a recruiting tool to have prisons within the United States. Of course it's a deterrent. If people know they're going to be incarcerated, they're less likely to commit a crime or kill American families. And I'm really grateful that even CNN yesterday reported that U.S. officials have said the 44-year-old Abu Wael Diab, a Syrian national, went off the radar several weeks ago in Uruguay, where he was resettled in 2014, not prior to 2009. And so Uruguay's interior minister told CNN that Diab was considered a refugee by the government, and as such he would not need permission from Uruguayan authorities to leave the country. They said he would only need permission from the foreign country he wished to enter per an agreement with the U.S. that enabled the release of Gitmo detainees to Uruguay. And there's a truth from CNN that I hope you look at and will reconsider what you're doing, and that is that the disappearance could provide fuel for opponents of efforts to close the detention facility at Guantanamo, especially if Diab is found to be attempting to join a terrorist group. Of the 676 detainees released from the detention facility as of January, 118 have returned to the fight. An additional 86 are suspected of returning, a recidivism rate of nearly 1 out of 3 released, according to a recent report from the administration's Office of Director of National Intelligence. By releasing, pardoning these people, American families are at risk around the world. And I just hope that you will reconsider what you're doing. And then I'm really grateful in the Washington Post, Gordon England, the former Secretary of the Navy, and he's an extraordinary public servant. He's a person of the highest integrity. He has warned that the process of releasing, the early process did work, but that what's being done is that there were 200 detainees when he departed. None have been approved for release. Under the president, more than half have been released. None of the low risk, according to vigorous vetting. He has conducted during the Bush administration, statements by the contrary of the White House are misleading at best. And so I hope you will really reconsider and understand that we're in a global war on terrorism. This is not an academic exercise of deterrence or incarceration, and I yield my time.
Okay.